December 1962. Britain slipped into a chill deeper than most could imagine as an eerie calm masked a deadly atmospheric blockade settling overhead. By Boxing Day, unnatural silence turned to chaos. A train slammed into disaster near Coppenhal, killing 18 as temperatures dropped below -22 degrees. How could a nation be brought to its knees by the big freeze? The answer begins with a single catastrophic breakdown. A dome of high pressure anchored itself over Scandinavia on December 22, 1962, setting off a chain reaction that would lock Britain in Arctic cold for over 2 months. The Met Office, tracking synoptic charts by hand, watched as Atlantic storms veered north, unable to break through the wall of still air. Instead of the usual procession of mild, damp westerlies, a relentless flow of easterly winds swept across the North Sea, drawing bitter air from Siberia and the Arctic straight into the British Isles. Temperatures plummeted night after night, reaching -22.2 degrees Celsius at Braemar in Scotland by January 18th. With the jet stream displaced far to the south, the Atlantic's warmth was shut out. Each weather front that reached Britain stalled and died, shedding its moisture as snow. The snow did not melt. There was no thaw, only a slow accumulation as the ground froze hard beneath a deepening white crust. From late December until early March, much of England and Wales saw snow cover that never lifted. In Reading, snow lay on the ground for 38 days, 5 times the modern average. Across the South and Midlands, rivers and canals froze, and in some coastal towns, even seawater turned to ice. The Met Office climatologists would later rank this winter among the 3 coldest since records began in 1659, surpassed only by the winters of 1683 to 1684 and 1739 to 1740. The block's persistence was extraordinary. From December 22 until the first week of March, Britain remained under the grip of this atmospheric stalemate. Each clear night, radiative cooling over snowfields sent temperatures lower still, compounding the freeze. This atmospheric blockade did more than bring cold. It strained every part of the country's infrastructure, from railways to power lines, and set the stage for cascading disruptions that would touch every corner of daily life. Boxing Day, 1962. Temperatures stayed well below freezing as darkness crept over the rail lines north of Crewe. At Winsford, the Liverpool to Birmingham train, led by an electric locomotive, ground to a stop at signal 114. The driver stepped out into the biting cold, breath hanging in the air, and reached for the lineside phone to call Coppenhal Junction. The signalman's answer was grim. Points ahead were frozen, congestion was mounting, and no trains could move until the blockage cleared. Inside, nearly 300 passengers waited, coats pulled tight, unaware that another express was drawing closer from behind. The midday Scot, running from Glasgow to London with 13 coaches and over 500 people aboard, approached the same stretch. Its driver, Russell, halted behind the Birmingham train at a red signal. Regulations required him to contact the signalman before moving. He tried the signal telephone, but the line was dead. All upline phones had failed minutes earlier, likely frozen or shorted by ice. With no way to communicate and pressure to keep the schedule, Russell invoked the emergency stop and proceed rule, meant for rare situations and only with extreme caution. He moved forward, but not at the slow crawl the rule demanded. Ahead, signal 110 switched from red to yellow, cleared for the Birmingham train, which had just begun to move. Russell saw the yellow aspect and, misreading it as permission to accelerate, picked up speed. In the darkness and blowing snow, the rear of the Birmingham train appeared suddenly, a black mass looming out of the night. There was barely time to brake. At 6:01 in the evening, The midday Scot crashed into the rear coaches at 15 to 20 miles per hour. The impact shattered couplings and telescoped coaches. 18 passengers died instantly or within minutes. Dozens more were injured. Circuit breakers tripped, alerting signalmen. In the freezing night, a nearby farm shed became a makeshift mortuary. The Ministry of Transport inquiry would later reveal a chain of frozen points, failed phones, and human judgment stretched to breaking. On the uplands of Dartmoor, the cold was more than an inconvenience, and it was a matter of life and death. In the days following the blizzard of December 29th and 30th, snowdrifts reached 6 meters, swallowing stone walls and barns, turning familiar lanes into blank, impassable corridors. Villages vanished behind white barricades. Roads and footpaths disappeared. Farmhouses that had stood for centuries became islands in a frozen sea. For the farmers, the silence was not peaceful. It was the sound of animals trapped beyond reach, herds and flocks scattered across fields now buried under snow. On Dartmoor alone, 6,000 sheep and cattle went without food for 4 days, their hay and silage stores cut off by drifts too deep for any tractor or horse. By the second night, the only way to reach them was from the air. Royal Air Force helicopters, pressed into service by desperate calls from the Ministry of Agriculture, dropped bales of hay and sacks of feed into white fields. The pilots navigated by memory in the shape of hedgerows barely visible beneath the snow. Even so, many animals would not survive. When the thaw finally came, the scale of loss became clear, carcasses revealed in the melting drifts, a grim tally of a winter that offered no mercy. Farmers spoke of helplessness, of walking out each morning to see another dozen sheep lost, or a barn roof collapsed under the weight of ice. Some families burned their last coal in kitchens colder than the outdoors, rationing food and paraffin, waiting for a snowplow or a passing military convoy. In the uplands, isolation was measured not just in miles, but in days without news, weeks without mail, and the growing certainty that help might not arrive. Survival depended on neighbors sharing what little they had: fuel, food, a working radio. Relief sometimes came in the form of a single army lorry, headlights pale against the drifts, bringing bread, milk, or medicine to a village unseen for a fortnight. The hardships of the countryside often went uncounted, their scale hidden beneath the snow, but the toll on rural life was as real as any headline from the cities. By New Year's Eve, the freeze had pushed city life to the edge. Across Britain, 200 major roads and 25,000 miles of highways were blocked by snow or ice. Buses and lorries were abandoned at odd angles, engines frozen solid with only the scrape of shovels and the distant hum of a single snowplow breaking the silence. In Manchester, London, and Birmingham, household taps ran dry as water mains froze beneath the streets. For thousands, the only source of drinking water came from corporation carts trundling through neighborhoods, with families queuing in the cold for a few gallons at a time. Inside homes, the cold crept in. Ice formed on the inside of bedroom windows, and in some flats, water froze in the toilet cisterns. Coal deliveries, already stretched thin by blocked roads, began to fail. Households rationed the last lumps from scuttles, burning scraps of wood or even old furniture to keep a single room warm. Gas pressure dropped. Electricity flickered or cut out altogether in some districts, leaving families to huddle by candlelight and hope for a break in the weather. Milk rounds ground to a halt. Delivery vans could not get through side streets, and even when farmers managed to milk their cows, the bottling plants and dairies were paralyzed by transport failures. In some areas, milk spoiled or had to be dumped while city children went without. Rubbish piled up on pavements, uncollected for weeks. Postal deliveries slowed to a crawl, and newspapers arrived days late or not at all. Municipal workers faced a losing battle. Crews dug out hydrants, thawed pipes with blow lamps, and tried to clear main roads, but the sheer scale of the freeze overwhelmed every effort. Public notices urged residents to conserve water and share coal. In council offices, emergency meetings stretched late into the night, searching for solutions as the city's basic systems buckled under the weight of the cold. For millions, the crisis was no longer a headline from the countryside. It was the daily reality, unfolding in every street and every home. Extreme winters still threaten Britain as climate change fuels unpredictable swings between flood and freeze. The Big Freeze isn't just history, it is a warning. Infrastructure, communities, and lives all remain vulnerable. What we learn from the past shapes how we survive the next storm. Share your thoughts below.